The Templars and the Wisdom of the Assassins, Nizari Ismailis. Narrated by Zoran the Dragon. Welcome back, traveler. Today, we venture to the rugged mountains of Persia and Syria, where the Templars, in their never-ending quest for wisdom, encountered one of the most enigmatic and secretive groups of all, the Nizari Ismailis, known more commonly in the West as the Assassins. Now, I can already see the intrigue in your eyes at the mention of the word, for these assassins were much more than the mysterious killers of legend. They were, in truth, followers of a deeply spiritual path, steeped in the esoteric teachings of Islam, and dedicated to mastering both the physical and the mystical arts. Let me guide you through the winding paths of their story, where the Templars and the Assassins, once enemies on the battlefield, became unexpected students of each other's profound wisdom. The story begins in the late 11th century, during the time of the Crusades, when the Templars were establishing their foothold in the Holy Land. The Nizari Ismailis were led by the legendary Hassan I-Sabah, who had established his stronghold at the mountain fortress of Alamat. From there, the assassins launched their targeted, strategic strikes against key political and military figures, earning their fearsome reputation. But what the Templars soon learned was that the assassins were not mere warriors, they were philosophers, mystics, and keepers of a highly developed spiritual system that fused elements of Islamic esotericism with rigorous mental discipline. Through a series of cautious diplomatic exchanges far from the chaos of the Crusades, a bridge was built between the Templars and the Assassins. The Templars, always on the lookout for deeper wisdom, were drawn to the precision and mystery of the Assassin Order. But it wasn't just their skill in covert warfare that fascinated the Templars. It was their mastery of inner transformation, their ability to merge physical action with spiritual enlightenment. The Templars came to learn that, for the Assassins, every external action had an internal counterpart, a reflection of their deeper spiritual journey. The path of Fana and Batin. Beyond the surface, one of the first concepts the Templars learned from the Assassins was the idea of Fana, the annihilation of the ego, a key tenet in Sufi and Ismaili spiritual practice. To the Assassins, Fana was the process by which a person dissolved their sense of individual self to unite with the divine. This was not merely an intellectual exercise, but a profound spiritual transformation, achieved through meditation, contemplation, and acts of service. The Templars, who were well acquainted with the idea of self-sacrifice in battle, found themselves deeply inspired by this inner battle, one that took place not with swords, but within the depths of the soul. But the Assassins also introduced the Templars to the concept of Batin, the hidden, esoteric truths that lay beneath the surface of all things. The world, the Assassins taught, was filled with Zahir, the outward, apparent reality, but this was merely a reflection of a deeper, hidden reality. Only through intense inner work could one peel away the layers of Zahir to uncover the Batin, the mystical truth that underpinned existence. This idea profoundly affected the Templars, who began to see their own lives, their battles, and their spiritual quests in a new light. What they had once viewed as straightforward struggles between good and evil appeared to be part of a larger, more intricate dance of forces, one in which appearances could be deceiving, and where deeper truths had to be sought. Discipline of the mind and body. The Templars were also deeply impressed by the mental and physical discipline practiced by the Assassins. The Nizari Ismailis believed that mastery over oneself was essential before one could exert any influence over the world. Every member of the Assassin Order underwent rigorous training, not just in combat, but in philosophy, meditation, and self-control. The body was a tool, but the mind was the true weapon. The Assassins trained their minds to remain calm, focused, and clear, even in the most chaotic situations. This allowed them to execute their missions with precision, and to act not out of emotion, but out of a deep sense of purpose. The Templars, who were no strangers to physical discipline, were fascinated by the inner practices of the Assassins. They began incorporating these methods of meditation and mental focus into their own training, realizing that to win a battle on the field, one first had to win the battle within. Through this training, the Templars came to understand that victory in any endeavor, whether physical or spiritual, required not just strength, but clarity of purpose and mastery over one's emotions. The Fortress of Alamet, a symbol of inner fortitude. The Fortress of Alamet. The very name evokes mystery. Perched high in the mountains of Persia, Alamet was not just a military stronghold. It was a symbol of the spiritual quest. The assassins used the mountain fortress as a metaphor for the inner journey, the ascent toward enlightenment. Just as the fortress was impregnable to outside forces, so too was the soul fortified by wisdom and inner strength, impervious to the distractions and temptations of the outer world. The Templars learned that the assassins saw their stronghold as both a physical and spiritual sanctuary. The goal was to ascend to a place of clarity and insight, far removed from the confusion of everyday life, much like climbing the mountain to reach Alamet itself. This metaphor resonated deeply with the Templars, who began to see their own fortresses not just as places of military defense, but as symbols of inner fortitude. The walls they built around their strongholds mirrored the walls they sought to build around their minds, keeping out the forces of chaos and distraction. The role of the Imam and spiritual leadership. Another key aspect of the assassins' teachings that intrigued the Templars was the concept of the Imam, the divinely inspired leader who acted as a spiritual guide for the community. The Nizari Ismailis believed that their Imam was a living embodiment of divine knowledge, a guide who could lead them toward both worldly and spiritual victory. This was different from the hierarchical structure of the Christian Church, where authority was more administrative and removed from personal spiritual guidance. For the Templars, this idea of direct spiritual leadership was intriguing. It encouraged them to look beyond institutionalized religion and seek a deeper, more personal relationship with the divine. The assassins taught that each individual had the potential to awaken to divine truth, but needed the guidance of a wise teacher to help them navigate the complexities of the spiritual path. The Templars, accustomed to following orders from earthly commanders, began to explore the idea that true leadership came from within, and that each person had to take responsibility for their own spiritual journey. The art of stealth and strategy. Of course, no discussion of the assassins would be complete without mentioning their legendary skills in the art of stealth and strategy. The assassins were known for their ability to strike precisely and disappear without a trace, relying not on brute force, but on tactical intelligence. They employed meticulous planning, patience, and the element of surprise to achieve their goals, always staying several steps ahead of their enemies. The Templars, who had been trained in more traditional forms of warfare, were deeply impressed by the assassins' use of strategy. The assassins showed them that victory did not always require large armies or overwhelming force. Sometimes, it required a single, well-placed action, guided by wisdom and foresight. This approach to warfare mirrored the spiritual lessons the assassins imparted. Just as one could conquer an army with a single precise strike, one could conquer the self with a single moment of insight or clarity. An unlikely alliance of souls. In the end, the relationship between the Templars and the assassins was one of mutual respect. Though they stood on opposite sides of the battlefield, they shared a profound understanding of the deeper, hidden forces that shaped the world. The Templars took with them the lessons of the assassins' lessons in inner discipline, spiritual insight, and the delicate balance between action and contemplation. The assassins, in turn, saw in the Templars a kindred spirit, warriors dedicated not just to physical battle, but to the spiritual quest. And though history remembers them as adversaries, in the hidden corners of their minds and hearts, both orders knew that they were engaged in the same sacred struggle, the pursuit of truth, wisdom, and the mastery of the self. So, traveler, as you continue your own journey through the mysteries of the universe, remember the lessons of the assassins. Seek the batin, the hidden truths beneath the surface, and never forget that the greatest battle of all is the one fought within.